So Mario Wonder recently came out, and when it came to my first playthrough, I knew a regular run wouldn't quite do it for me. So I decided to spice up my first playthrough by attempting to beat the game without collecting coins or flower coins, which didn't go as planned. So what's going to make this hard? Well, coins are usually the indicator that you're going the right way, so that's going to make some stages pretty awkward. And with the addition of flower coins that can literally just rain down everywhere, this was going to be a tough challenge. The rules for this run are just beat the game while collecting the least coins possible. Glitches are banned, and while flower coins may be collected in less amounts than a full coin, I will attempt to avoid increasing this count at all. If I collect a coin, I will be forced to reset or exit out the game. And with that out of the way, let's start the game by picking the best character, which is Mario. And if you disagree, you can like the video to show it. We now start the small tutorial section where I take it real slow despite there literally being only a single part where you have to press a button other than just holding right, which is this jump here. I now watch the story that I definitely didn't skip, and afterwards we begin the first stage. This first part, as you would expect, is pretty easy, but after collecting a certain side of the internet's favourite Mario power-up, I realised that for this run it isn't really that good. As with his increase in size, it was harder to avoid coins, and if I shot out water, I would be forced to receive coins. I had reset the level from the beginning, so I now got back to the place where I failed and I played through the stage, not really having any problems until the first Wonder Seed, that I was pretty sure was impossible to collect. So I just ran by it. We maneuvered around these pipes, and I cleared the stage. Now I replayed back to the Wonder Seed, and after a few tries, I concluded that collecting it would probably not be possible. Okay, so the next level is pretty easy up to the first checkpoint, but at the first checkpoint, these music blocks cause you to receive coins when you move off them. So just jump over, easy right? Well, after trying this jump a few times, I didn't think Mario could make it. But there's a cheat button in this game, called Yoshi, and with their flutter jump, I could just barely make it up. We then collected the Wonder Flower, and again it seemed like we wouldn't be able to collect the Wonder Seed, as at this part here, you can't really get past without collecting part of a flower coin. So I replayed the stage again, and with the overpowered character Yoshi, the second half of the stage was a joke, except at the very end, where they pull out these annoying music coin blocks again. But we can just jump over to clear the stage. While Yoshi is pretty good, I don't really want to have to use him, so for the next stage I switched back to Mario. This stage is another level where you just hold right and sporadically jump. Again, collecting the second Wonder Seed seemed impossible because it gives you a star that in this game causes coins to be pulled towards you, and I'm pretty sure that collecting the seed on this level would be impossible. Anyway, after some more holding right, I reached this guy, who actually took a little thinking to get past since his coin trail was further than their range to be aggroed to move, so I had to jump to make him move, then spin to safety. With the music block's extra height, I had an easy time jumping over, and I cleared the stage. Now things have opened up a little more, and we've got a few choices of stages to do. Some were hard, like this stage, and some were easy, like this Hoppo stage, where I just had to time some jumps at the start, then I pretty much just held right until I reached the Wonder Flower, where things got chaotic, but I quickly snagged the seed before accidentally collecting a flower coin. Now we were at the end of the stage. Next, I did this music level. Pretty simple. Just run away when you collect a medal, to avoid the coins that drop down. And if you're in a tough spot, just wait for the coins to disappear. Easy. Next I did Bull Rush coming through. Like, really just hold forward. It's not that hard in the first half, but after the checkpoint, things got a little more interesting. First, there's these guys here, and when they fall, they collect coins. So I let them walk as far left as I could before killing them, then I smashed through and collected the Wonder Flower. I now tried this section a few times and concluded that riding the bulls would not be a good idea, as they ran straight through some flower coins. And by just eating some damage, I could go under the section, and by slowly running behind them here, I could avoid the coins above and collect the Wonder Seed. The exit was just over here, allowing us to clear the stage. But when I went back in, I easily collected another Wonder Seed by exiting the stage the normal way. I now had 9 of the 10 seeds I needed to progress, so I had to take on this level. Usually you would just run your way through this pretty easy, but I can't do that. And instead I have to precisely ground pound across here. But I can't be slow. I need to be quick and precise. With enough tries, I got the timing down and I glided all the way over to the seed and collected it. Now we've unlocked this, holding right simulator. Really, nothing to say here. I just held right and I cleared it on my first try. Speaking of easy stages, this KO arena. I literally just killed everyone, there is literally 0 difficult coins to avoid, but I wasn't paying attention at the end and I accidentally picked up the big coin. So I had to do it again, and because I felt like it, I did it within the time limit to get the maximum reward that I just ignored by jumping over it. Now I decided to do Bull Rush Express, a level that was actually quite hard to do coinless, as at the start there's this trail of coins. Jumping wouldn't work, and so was just plain old crouching. But after a few tries, I found that if you ran to the front, and I was small Mario, I could stand just low enough to allow me to pass without collecting coins. Now I just stayed near the front, timed some jumps, activated the POWs, crouched under here, carefully jumped over the snail, but at the end I made a mistake, as the coins here were hard to avoid without taking damage, so I had to try again, and I made it on my next try. The secret exit was as simple as having the necessary power-up in my reserves, and just doing what I did before and pulling it out at the very end. Wall climb jump. This one actually took me a few tries, the start is pretty easy though. But I quickly realized the easy way of going right was wrong, and I actually had to carefully time a jump to land on the platform on the left, while avoiding the big coin, which wasn't that hard. Then I just had to stay on the left side of the room, and climbing from here was easy, and I cleared another stage. Angry Spikes and Sinking Pipes was next. This one wasn't too bad. I just carefully moved right. Around here the coins were a little hard to avoid, but I got past them and got the checkpoint, but my gamer instincts told me to jump up here, and this rewards me with coins. And the funny thing about this is whenever I saw a similar situation in the future, I didn't learn, and throughout the game I kept making this mistake. Anyway, on my next try, I made my way over to this pipe, fell down, and activated the Wonder Flower. Now coins rain down from above, but fortunately they mostly appeared near the center platform. So by staying on the far left, I could avoid all the coins and collect the Wonder Seed. From here, the stage was easy, and we proceeded to the next level, Swamp Pipe Crawl. On this level, I wondered how I somehow collected a coin, but eventually I figured out that if you collect a power-up while you have one in your reserves, you gain a flower coin. Fun fact, it took me half an hour to realize this. As for the level, in the first half, the coins were a little harder to avoid than usual, but it still wasn't challenging. At the checkpoint, in order to collect the Wonder Seed, you need to move these pipes that give you coins if you move them. So I didn't think this was possible on my first attempt, but after some testing, I determined it was possible, as you don't receive the coins if you move it very slowly. Moving past these pipes was no problem. This next section was easy, and for the final part, I just had to ride along the lower pipe to avoid the coins. And I collected both the Wonder Seeds and beat the stage. On this dark level, it was really a just hold right type of stage. But when I collected the Wonder Flower, Mario's increased height could have been a problem, so I needed to make sure to crouch. But this in turn would cause flower coins to come down from above, so I needed to be careful exactly where I crouched. And right here these coins seemed hard to avoid, but by just holding right, I crouched and got by. This part was much easier, and by crouching I could collect the Wonder Seed and make my way over to the second by the flagpole. Cosmic Hoppos was a little different from the other levels we've done before, as instead of moving right, we have to move up, and with a wall jump I avoided the first 2 coins. Then I jumped up the walls on the right, but one of the Hoppos hit into me, causing these coins to appear and for me to lose. So I switched from the parachute hat to the wall climb jump. This extra jump allowed me to traverse the far right wall here, and it made it easier to avoid the Hoppos. By abusing the extra jump, I could avoid these coins just before the checkpoint, and then make a slight unintended path to avoid a few more coins. And when I reached the top, I jumped on the Hoppo and threw a shell to find the Wonder Flower. Now I get sent to space, and the classic strategy of just staying towards the left worked, and we reached the top. The new movement we now had was a little tricky. But in all honesty, avoiding the coins is much easier than it looked. The only scary part is where this big hoppo showed up, but they just run away, and revealed that the Wonder Seed had what I will refer to as a Circle of Doom. But this Circle of Doom was both slow and spaced out, making it possible to collect unlike the first level. Surprise! The coins are now falling down. Fortunately for now, they were easy to avoid, and we just cleared the level. We now unlock the Jet Run badge level that I'm confident is like impossible to do. Like, you can use Yoshi to get past this first bit, but here there was no way it was possible. And in case you haven't been keeping track, that was the final normal level. And it is time to do the castle, which is a real just hold right type of stage until here. This looked generally pretty hard. Definitely the hardest jump we've had to do up to this point. There were two ways to try this. The first was to jump across and just find a way up from there, which I didn't think was easy, and the other was to just hit the block and wall jump to the top. Then I could just jump up and easily collect the Wonder Flower. With crouching and careful jumping, I made my way over to this flower coin. That looked scary, and I collected it, so I had to do the whole level again. But this time I had the parachute cap, allowing me to fly over the final coin and collect the Wonder Seed. After moving right, we find Bowser Jr., who we must fight, and since he is a Mario boss fight, he is fairly easy to beat. We now start the next world with the Dolphin Kick tutorial. That is a race, where the reward for going fast is collecting coins. So as you might expect, this level is pretty easy to do coinless. But at the end, the frame rate changes to about 4. That is the average frame rate for a modern released Pokemon game. While I would like to make fun of the Nintendo Switch for this issue, it's actually a problem with my capture card. As for the level Leaping Smack Roll, at the start I just swim under these coins to go into the pipe to skip a small part of the level. The next problem were these purple guys, who were easy to pass with a few fireballs. After hugging the wall and following the current, I reached the next checkpoint, and the next Wonder Flower. This caused one of the smack rolls to become big, and I followed them, being careful to avoid the trail of flower coins. And here I didn't have any problems collecting the medals to receive the Wonder Seed. And the flagpole along with the next Wonder Seed were just on the other side of this pipe. Welcome to Rowbird Cove, a stage that isn't really all that interesting. Up to the first checkpoint. But right here, to collect the Wonder Flower, I had to carefully swim under these coins. It wasn't too hard, just it is worth noting. After collecting the Wonder Flower, obviously the stage changed. But the most interesting change is the path to the seed, where we have to go up. And to do this without collecting coins, I needed to use the Dolphin Kick to negate the push of the pipes. With precise swimming, the remaining coins were no problem, but then these coin birds appeared out of nowhere. Fortunately, I managed to dodge them, and we were on to the next level, Bluebird Roost. This one's quite simple. I used the platforms to go up, and the coins are not really all that hard to avoid. These line of coins near the checkpoint are probably the hardest to avoid. And if I activated this on accident, I had to wall jump on this wall that was quite hard. As for the Wonder Flower, I just stayed towards the left to avoid the coins. At the top was a Circle of Doom. That may be possible to slip by, but at the time, I didn't think so. And I just exited the stage, collecting only a single Wonder Seed. Now we move on to Fluff Puff Peaks. And the first level I tried had these stupid invisible coin blocks that if I hit, I had to reset. Fortunately for my sanity, in order to drop down here, you needed to collect some coins. So this level was impossible, and I didn't have to worry about those invisible blocks. But don't you worry, surely the next level won't be impossible. It was, I think. Maybe with a second player this stage is possible, but alone I don't think so. This level has to be possible, right? This first part was easy, but right around here, the easiest way to get past required me to take damage. I could also wall jump on this wall, but that was more risky. By jumping up here, I reached the checkpoint, and soon after, I picked up the flower. The coins just past here required some patience, but the real challenge came from collecting a seed, and it was surrounded by tons of flower coins, and just a solid jump into the parachute wasn't going to get this done. What I needed to do was time wall jumps to avoid standing on the platforms, and by staying near the seed I could make sure the snow platforms around the seed wouldn't disappear, allowing me to stand on them and jump to reach the seed. Then there were no problems from there, nice and easy. This next stage was not too bad, the coin placements were relatively kind, with the exception of these things that you pull. that I now had an irrational fear of. At the first checkpoint, I killed this guy to allow me to run down here and avoid the coins above. The coin placements here were a little tight, but things were going to get a lot harder when I collected the Wonder Seed, as I had no way to know where the coins were, or where to position to avoid them, so this took a few tries. I had to learn the layout. This first part is relatively easy, I just had to jump over a few easy coins. But this igloo was the hard part, as I had to perfectly time a jump and glide across to avoid the flower coins. Now I just stay towards the left and wall jump to hop on the big snowman to avoid these coins here. And that was it. I got the seed and the secret exit, and of course the regular exit was easy to get, and I moved on to the next stage. Pretty easy, just kill this guy immediately, and then wait for the coins to despawn, quite simple. But what was not simple is our next level. Easily the hardest thus far. At the start you can see why. You see, if this guy hits into one of these blocks with coins, we will gain them. But here it isn't too bad, as I just have to avoid it falling on the block on the far left, and the one around the middle. Next up was something similar to this, but it's easier to avoid, just jump low and you can avoid collecting any coins. As long as I intentionally took damage, this next part wasn't too bad. But here is our first problem. This jump is pretty tight, so to make this easier, I equipped the wall kick badge, and with it, it was less precise. This next part was easy, as long as I was patient. Then after a crouch jump here is the real problem I had with this stage. You see this hole, if you fall down it, you're almost forced to collect 4 coins from the blocks. So I tried to hold right to stay out of their range, and that didn't work. Next I tried jumping on them, but that was too slow. So I tried a new idea. You see, if I perfectly timed 2 fireballs, I could kill the 2 enemies. The timing was tight, but eventually I got it. Then we reached the next part that I immediately failed and had to do the first part again. That took me like 20 minutes to do. So I tried to find a more consistent method, which was this. You see, if I used these shells from the Koopas, they would, I think, despawn before collecting the coins, allowing me to kill the enemies and destroy the blocks, allowing me to fall on a platform and shoot down fire to kill one, and an easy jump could kill the other. On this next part, the birds need to fall in the holes without any blocks at the bottom. Fortunately, this wasn't too hard. With that done, I collected the Wonder Flower, and the section after that is luckily very easy, as the flower coins run away from you now. But here we have a problem. You see, this is the problem. I then figured out that if I could get the bird to hit the blocks on the right, I would be good. And on my next try, I ran along the top to do this, and we got the seed. From here, it was easy, is what I would like to say, but they just pull this on you at the very end, that I got on my first try and beat the hardest stage yet. Okay, let's get jump, jump, jump out of the way. I didn't think this one was possible. You see, this is the first jump. This is the second, and then they pulled this. It's like the level from World 1, and I didn't think I could make this. Later on, I figured out that the bubble flower is pretty good, and I managed to collect the 2 Wonder Seeds on this attempt. On this next level, Pole Block Passage, I scaled up the left side with wall jumps, carefully jump over here, then I activated the pole blocks, killed both of the Koopas, and wall jumped off this block to avoid the coins. After the checkpoint, they pull out these invisible blocks. Like, come on. Now I was just before the Wonder Flower, where I think I just had to go under here. With the Wonder Flower collected, the changes to the stage were fairly easy to overcome, and I just stayed on the left. Collecting the medals were mostly easy, with the exception of this one in the top right. So we collected the Wonder Seed, and the path to the end just required a few basic jumps. Cloud Cover was up next. Again, it's pretty simple. I've just got to maneuver around these coins and collect the medals. Nothing too hard. Up and down with puffy lifts it's easy. Just hold right for the most part. I had a little trouble with these Koopas, but by timing carefully, I could just run across. I made a slight mistake reaching the Wonder Flower, but like, there's no way you're doing this. I don't think this is possible. The rest of the stage is just holding right. And we moved on to a KO Arena. These are like never hard, and this one is not the exception. This floating high jump tutorial was more interesting than you'd think, as here I needed to use a wall jump. Then here I had to be careful. I had to land right here, jump around, and I could climb to find the next problem. This jump took precision, and with a few attempts I made it, and the rest of the stage was not really that interesting. Next up was this flying battleship, an auto-scroller, and I'm going to be real with you. The part before the Wonder Flower is real easy, but when we get the Wonder Flower, it definitely gets hard. There are a lot of things that can go wrong. You see, if these Bowser blocks or the Bullet Bill launchers get destroyed, they send out coins everywhere. And since this is a auto-scroller, we can't easily wait for them to disappear. And if the attack is fired on the music blocks, Mario can be sent into the air. And in the skies are a plentiful amount of coins. And this enemy here was also a problem. So how did I beat this? Well, at the start, I stayed back. Then I charged towards the Bowser blocks and jumped to break 3 of them. Then I baited out the next shot. Then with fireballs, I dropped down the coins and jumped over the Bullet Bill launcher. Now I just baited out a shot and ran under the next launcher. Then I stayed completely still to avoid the coins around the seed. Then I fight the boss. Is this considered to be a boss? Anyway, it's pretty easy. And now we've unlocked 3 more levels. And our first one is sort of interesting. Well, the start isn't. I just ran right and jumped. But the Wonder Flower here spawns a Lakitu that rains down coins, as well as the 5 medals you need to collect to receive the seed. I tried doing this the normal way, and it might be possible, but it's got to require some really good luck. So I switched over to Yoshi, and just ran over all the platforms as fast as I could, needing Yoshi's Flutter Jump to do this. And right here, they don't rain coins down on you, and you can safely collect the medals, as well as the seed, and beat the stage. Okay, countdown to drop down. Hold right. When I tell you that moving left and then moving right is the most interesting part about this stage, you know it's easy. The Wonder Flower was easy too, just kill the Lakitu and hold left until you win. By riding 2 clouds, I reached the end and beat another stage. So this is the Fluffpuff Peaks Palace. This stage is very important for this challenge. Why? Well, it certainly isn't for the first part. You see, near the end, they do this. Coins on top of these pipes, and you need to stand on these to drop them down and progress. I tried standing on the very end of a pipe to avoid collecting the coin, but this didn't work. So unfortunately, without glitches, you cannot beat Mario Wonder without collecting a coin. I don't think you can get past this. However, it is worth noting that there is a glitch that lets you skip this world. So with glitches, you could avoid this coin. But at least we haven't collected any flower coins yet. So let's see if we have to collect any of them. And let's also see if we need to pick up any more coins. Anyway, I now went back to like the 2nd level of the game. And now we can make a jump that we couldn't before. And I got the secret exit, a pipe appeared and I jumped in it, and it led straight to Captain Toad, who gives us 50 flower coins, so I had to reset. Now I journeyed back to the 2nd palace, and this time I used Yoshi, because if I collected the Wonder Flower, I needed Yoshi's Flutter Jump to reach the top pipe only collecting a single coin, meaning I could at least still collect the Wonder Seed with the minimum coins. The path to the Wonder Seed was not all that hard, I just had to make sure to crouch under the line of coins, and since I'm playing Yoshi, the literally invincible character, you can probably guess how this next fight went. Now a few more levels have opened up, and the first I took on was this Wiggler race. Unlike the first Wiggler race, this one has more mean coin placements, with some of the harder ones being near these things that push you, because going fast while moving past this was hard. So I just took the damage and I cleared the stage. Okay, here's another Dolphin Kick tutorial, and this one is pretty simple. Really, nothing is worth talking about here. Downpour Uproar was not a hard stage. But what was hard was when they place these stupid invisible blocks everywhere and I just lose. On my next try, I reached the Wonder Flower, and avoiding the coins here wasn't too bad again. Just stay on the left, and it should be easy, until they just give you the middle finger by doing this. Thanks, Nintendo. Anyway, from the Wonder Flower, I literally just ran right and jumped like twice. And I reached the goal and cleared the stage. Now we entered the next world, and for the first stage, I decided to do a search party that I don't like doing. But after scouting the place out to find out where the hidden blocks were, I determined I could beat it with a 2nd player of myself. So I activated this to make the first medal appear, I jumped on my other controller to collect it, and spawn the other one in. Then I wall jumped to collect it. I now jumped on the moving platform, and from that platform, none of the invisible blocks contained coins. making it fairly easy to win. This next level, the Hoppycat Trial, was another simple one. The first noteworthy part is this part here where there are 4 of them, but it was still pretty easy. And with a wall jump, I reached the checkpoint. Then by dropping down and doing some basic platforming, I reached the Wonder Flower, causing these guys to get big. I ran by the first 2, but for the third, I timed a wall jump to get up here. Then I jumped over here, caused the platform to spawn in, fell onto it, then I broke away up here where I needed to build up some speed to get past these coins. Here, I just had to time a jump to go over these, and then collecting this Wonder Seed was easy, and so was clearing the level. This next level is pretty easy, you've just got to wall jump up this pipe. The next trial took some time to beat. First up, this jump, near the start, was pretty precise. The section after that was fairly coin-free. And the next noteworthy jump is this bit here with the water, just glide over. It's not that hard. Next up was the Wonder Flower, where I determined I needed some help in the form of Yoshi. Why, you may ask? Well, this jump seemed really hard to make, as the fish were positioned to make it almost impossible to avoid the flower coins. But with Yoshi's flutter jump, I could stall long enough to jump up on the left side, and that made avoiding the coins easy. Then I picked up the seed and cleared the stage. Watery Wonder Tokens. An easy level as long as you avoid these flowers that spawn in coins. On this crouching jump stage, I just have to time jumps to go over these long guys, nothing too hard. Up to it is a level that is actually quite interesting. But the part before the Wonder Flower isn't the interesting part. And we actually need to collect the Wonder Flower, as if we went through the lower pipe, these guys would be forced to jump and give us coins. So I needed to climb up, so we came down from the upper pipe. And I also decided that Yoshi would make this easier, so I switched to them. This first part isn't really all that hard, but it isn't all that easy either. You just need to know where the coins are, and avoiding them is fairly easy. But right here you need to take damage. Why? Well, it makes you smaller. Small enough to slip through this part on the left here. I now continue to climb using the clouds on the right to help me pick up the seed and then coin jump scare. This did get me one time, and my strategy for avoiding the coins was really to just stay still, and it usually worked. Now the annoying part. When I come out of this pipe, I need to flutter jump then glide, and this would allow us to get past without collecting any coins. This part near the end was also scary, as I could just fall down and die. That on this run I didn't, and I cleared the level. Launch to victory. This level has these floating platforms. That's new, I guess. After gliding over these coins, I reached the checkpoint, where on the next platform I had to fall here to avoid the coins near the spikes. Then I hit this block and activated the Wonder Flower. Here I need to go towards the right to avoid the coins near the middle. Right here, if I hug the wall, I can get up safely. Here are a few more pipes, and here I've just got to go right again. Collecting the seed was a little tight, but with the right timing, I managed to reach it. And then we easily cleared what was left of the stage. This extra stage with the timers looked really hard, but I found out that if you just stay still, you can make the coins spawn in and they won't land on you, so it's just pretty easy. Across the Night is impossible to do if you collect the Wonder Flower, as it gives you a star and you're not getting past this. This level without the flower was fairly easy. Another one of these levels that you can pretty much just hold right for. The only problem is at the very end where they pop coins on top of these platforms. But I just jumped over. This timer switch level wasn't too hard, you can just glide over all your problems, and I had to reset at the end because of invisible blocks, but on my next try I cleared it without issue. Allowing me to move on to the final trial, a stage that took me a really long time to beat. Well, why? Well, let's start at the beginning. You kind of need to avoid these orange flower things as they make a path of coins, and it's way easier to just avoid them than the coins. But this part wasn't the challenging part. You see, after I crouched under here and jumped over these coins, we collected the Wonder Flower. We could take our time here, but when this dropped down, things got a lot harder. Here we have to jump, and if we jump too high, we will collect coins and have to reset. And if you're too low, we will drop down, and we will have to take the wrong exit that won't allow us to progress. After this first jump, there's another one that's fairly similar, but it's a little easier as the timing's less strict. But here is the big problem. If I avoided the coins here by jumping early, we can't clear the gap, and then we can't reach the correct exits. And if I took the big jump, I would be forced to collect 6 small flower coins, that at first I thought was the only way to progress. But then I got investigating. With Yoshi's Flutter, I could climb up here, then get higher with wall jumps, but I couldn't quite reach the top without another Flutter, that I could have if I had a second player. By myself, I tried to get this jump, but it wasn't happening. And it would be a few days before I could get someone over to help me beat this stage, so I came up with a new plan. You see, previously I hadn't really used the bubble flower, as if I bubbled an enemy it would force me to collect a coin when it popped. But with some testing, I used the bubble to climb up here, then with wall jumps I waited for the perfect timing, then I bubbled, then span at about the same time, allowing me to bounce off the first bubble, then change my direction with the second, and reach the top without collecting a single coin. Now I just dropped down to clear the world, and we were on to the next stage. Jewel Block Cave is much easier than the previous level. Near the checkpoint, there were a few more interesting jumps, including this jump that I had to crouch to get under. Now we have the Wonder Flower, and honestly, it's much easier than it looks. If you just stay near the right, then move near the middle here, it's pretty easy to collect the Wonder Seed. And the next was just around the corner. Okay, it's time for another battleship. The last one was pretty tough, so what about this one? This one's real easy. And the only hard part was at the end where they placed the coins near the middle, and I just had to eat the damage to avoid traversing the center. Then I could easily collect the Wonder Seed, and the boss fight was a boss fight. More Mouthful, this level is quite easy. You see these guys, they can eat coins, so as long as we're patient, avoiding most of the coins is easy. As for the Wonder Flower, I don't think this is possible, or is it? If I lured one of these guys over here, I could use them to eat the coins, and I might actually be able to proceed, but they just disappeared when you collect the flower, so I don't think this is possible. The rest of the stage is easy, and we move on to the boosting spin jump tutorial. There are like 2 groups of coins on the stage, and you aren't accidentally collecting the first few, and the second just requires you to use the super spin. Muncher Fields. Okay, so I think they want you to go around the back, but it's like way quicker to just eat the damage and run all the way to the first checkpoint. And now this part here is hard. They want you to get the star, but if you get that, you can say bye-bye to your hopes of collecting the flower without picking up at least one of the coins. So what you need to do is get a running start and jump into a spin. This is easier if you're Small Mario, but you can still get it done if you have a power-up. With the flower collected, our first problem is here, as I can't really get past here without taking a risky jump over here and stalling mid-air. By dropping down and taking damage, I get by the next part, and here I had to reset a few times, but by staying towards the left, I got by, and this part here is really easy. And I collected the Wonder Seed, and another at the flagpole. Next up was AKO Arena. The first room was easy, just fire down the Cheep Cheeps, but on the second room, I had to be more careful. These blocks could contain coins, so I had to be careful. That means no power blocks. With some patience, I got it done, and the final part was easy, allowing me to move on to the next Wiggler race. And this one was kind of hard. So on my first try, I was just scouting out the stage, and as you can see, there were quite a few areas that not only seemed hard to maneuver around, but hard to go through while going at a fast pace. So to make this easier, I came back with a few power-ups, because at the start here, the easiest way to get by fast was to just take damage. Our next problem came here, as the coin slowed me down a bit, but not as much as this next part with the huge line of coins. I needed to get a good jump to clear this. After some basic jumps, I just had to run right, and pray I was fast enough. That I was, and I cleared the stage and unlocked the special world. But the first level is impossible to do without collecting coins, so let's go do this magma world and start on this search party. Just avoid the invisible blocks. The drill power-up made it easier for me, and here I had to use Yoshi, as if I used the intended method, I would be forced to collect a few coins. You see, what's pretty good about this level is I can just go back here if I ever need some power-ups, since you can just pick up the power-ups and immediately leave. So the next level on the chopping block was this one with these rolling guys. They can sometimes drop coins, but as long as I was careful, I didn't have any problems until I reached the Wonder Flower. That to just get out of here, I had to make a tight jump, but then I made a mistake, and I collected a coin. But I decided to scout ahead, and it appeared that with this part and this part, it would be impossible to collect all the Wonder Seeds on this stage. But the regular exit would be easy to clear. I just held along this wall and drilled into the ceiling, and I could easily reach the goal. The secret exit was also possible, and pretty simple too, as it's just along the ceiling here. Floating High Jump 2 is a stage where a habit of mine got punished, but first we'll start here. As you can see, our jumps have to be precise, with Mario, but I determined after climbing up this wall that Yoshi would probably have an easier time. In fact, you see this first jump, you don't actually have to do it, as you can just jump all the way over to this wall and climb up with wall jumps. Here comes the hard part, avoiding these coins. This was really hard, and Yoshi's Flutter seemed like the easiest way to do this. To make this easier, I came up with a setup that was not consistent, but it helped me a little. My setup was just jumping between these bricks here, and I would flutter on this brick. And if you're wondering, the habit that this level punished is me just restarting on every failed attempt, and this caused me to have to make this hard jump again. The rest of the stage was quite easy, as I just wall jumped up here to avoid going left. The 8 coins here may have been hard to avoid if I wasn't playing Yoshi, and then I just had to jump on the flagpole to clear this stage. Now we moved on to this. This part at the start was easy to jump around, then I go on these moving blocks. Now these coins. Yeah, I wasn't sure how to safely pass them. It's a good thing I don't have to get past them, as this pipe conveniently leads towards the goal. Here they hit you with this rotating platform where there's like no coins, so it's pretty easy. But next up was the Wonder Flower. These coins were fortunately easily dodged by crouching, and for the Wonder Flower it created a maze. And I didn't know the way out, so this happened and I died. On my next try, I hugged the wall to avoid the flower coins, went left to avoid the coins near the right, and here again I just carefully hugged the wall. After collecting the first Wonder Seed, the second was just through this pipe. Next up was this vine one, and it was hard. I needed to switch to Yoshi here, just to get by. And again, here I had a hard time. I tried to flutter to the blue wall, but the big coin made it hard to get there. So I tried a different plan. With myself as the second player, I could jump up here with another Yoshi's help. Then I could reach the checkpoint, and again with the extra height from a second player, I could make this, and then this. But, I don't know what to do here. By myself, I thought this would require too many precise movements to do it myself, so I called in some help. We tried dropping down and just going under, but that didn't seem to work too well. But then I just checked to see if this jump was possible, and it was. So I just had to get both players over here, and with a well-timed flutter into a jump off the ceiling, I made it. Then we ran off, fluttered for more height, then jumped and fluttered again. Then I pulled out the vine to reach the end and beat the stage. Pull, turn, and burn is a stage where I pull, then turn, and then I... Yeah, so instead of doing that, I do a wall jump that, in all honesty, is probably way harder than just jumping over. The next few obstacles I can just hold right and jump over, but here I opt to use the drill to ride along the ceiling. Then after a few jumps, we reach the checkpoint. I now rode along the ceiling to avoid some coins, then I intentionally took damage and collected the Wonder Flower, giving us an immunity to fire and allowing us to swim in lava. I swam towards the side here to avoid the coins, and now we've got to collect a few medals. These were relatively easy to collect, and the ones that may have been challenging I just cheated with a well-timed jump. Okay, so this part here was quite hard. The coins are really hard to avoid, and you have to take your time. I lost quite a few runs here, and in those failed attempts, I found a clear path to victory. Jump on here, go right, then jump to activate the next platform, then crouch under here, and prepare for the next jump. From there, we were good, as from there, the flagpole was just down this pipe. So in the overworld, we were not reaching the necessary Wonder Seeds needed to progress. So we need 50 Wonder Coins to proceed, and attempt some more levels. But I didn't want to do that, so I ran over to the next world, where you need 10 Flower Coins to get past this part at the very start. Okay, World 4, but apparently I missed a level, so I just did that now. This one features these guys who eat coins, and in a time it would take to explain anything else, we've already reached the first checkpoint and the Wonder Flower. That at first seemed impossible. They hit the pals and gave me coins, but on my next try, I prematurely went in there and disposed of the pals, but they just spawned back in. So I destroyed the blocks by running over here, and when I was chased, I quickly moved the pals to safety, and had a much easier time, allowing me to collect the Wonder Seed and jump on the flagpole. World 4 for real this time. And our first level is impossible. I don't think you're getting past here, so Rolling Ball Hall. At the start here, I follow my gamer instincts and have to reset, but on my next try, I just abuse the drill power-up, allowing me to easily avoid the coins, and hit the checkpoint. After sliding down, I use a super spin to reach the flower, and because of the coins, I get hits, and instantly die. On my next try, I use the drill power-up to stay on the ceiling and avoid these spiky balls. This allowed me to take my time. Drop down here, drop down again, and now we have to run or we will die. There are 2 hard jumps, one here and the other here, so now I just collected the seed and made my way to the flagpole. We've now unlocked the stage, and it is impossible. I don't think you're getting past here. This stage made me realize something. If you stomp on an Armad, you can pick it up. It's not that. At the start here, I needed the drill to go under, then surprise invisible coin blocks. Shortly after, we reached the Wonder Flower that speeds things up. No problem, right? Well, it wouldn't be if this didn't exist. I gave up here. I didn't think I could get over, but after clearing the world, I came back to this and abused the Bubble Flower to just jump over, and surprisingly, it made clearing this stage actually possible. Okay, this next stage is filled with these bouncy boys and these bouncy platforms, and this stage is very easy and very short. Even the Wonder Flower is easy. It just slows everything down, making precise platforming even easier. So it should be no surprise that I collected the Wonder Seed here, and the flagpole was just over here. On this crouching jump stage, we have to time a jump to pass these coins. Then we'll jump up to this platform, crouch jump again. This next section was easy, and this platform that falls required good timing to pass without collecting coins. At the end, we just crouch jump a few times and run to the goal. Welcome to Color Switch Dungeon. Immediately from the start, we have to jump to avoid these coins. Then we have to climb up. This next section was quite simple, and so was this room with the switch. But when we collected the Wonder Flower, things were going to get a bit harder, as now we're being chased. But that wouldn't be a problem if the jumps we were making weren't extremely precise, like I have to make this into these 3 times in a row, while being chased. Yeah, this was tough. Fortunately, this final section was easy and we collected the seed. But the level still wasn't over yet. There was this puzzle here, and on my first try I made a mistake and hit this coin. On my next try I avoided the coins by just going up here, and that was another stage down. Lights Out is over, I already won. Heyo Arena, I didn't see a single coin doing this, so you can beat it without collecting coins. Bouncy Tunes, this is literally the same level from a while ago. Literally, I just used the level from before. Ninja Jump Party is a stage that if we jump in the rhythm we gain coins, so we can't do that. For these pipes we have to be a little careful, as the coins that appear with the rhythm can catch you off guard. But after that I didn't have any problems until the 3rd medal, where I get a build up to a big jump, and yeah, my capture card is working as intended. Anyway, there were no problems from here, and we moved on to the palace. This first jump was the hardest part before the first checkpoint. Then I could jump up and collect the Wonder Flower, making the stage switch between a faster speed and a slower speed. The slower speed was generally speaking better, as it made precision platforming easier, so I abused it, and I didn't have any difficulty making these somewhat high jumps over these rotating fire beams. But right here I had a problem. The sand prevented me from jumping high, and the fire beam forced me to take damage. I immediately lost, but with this in mind, I switched to the parachute cap, allowing for me to just glide over, collect the seed, and reach the boss fight, which was pretty easy. Now we have a pretty big problem. You see, we can't accumulate enough Wonder Seeds to proceed in the Magma Bog, and to collect more we need to collect 50 Wonder Coins to make a bridge. Unfortunately, this seemed like the only way, but the 50 I went with were from Captain Toad. So there were coins in the overworld, because at least in the stages themselves, we haven't collected any flower coins. So the stage we've unlocked is this battleship. It starts with a few basic jumps, and this pullable chain was kind of annoying. The next chain was also kind of a pain, but our first problem is here. This jump is quite precise, so I needed a setup. By running on the second furthest right music block and then jumping and gliding, I could make this jump fairly consistently. But this wasn't the hard part, because by the next checkpoint we had our second problem. You see here, these coins are hard to avoid, but by switching to Yoshi, the jump wasn't all that hard. The problem with switching to Yoshi was here. He was too big to go under these coins, so I had to switch to Mario, that fortunately could make this jump with a well-timed super spin. But I quickly realized that collecting the coins wasn't my biggest problem at making this jump, as I kept dying, so I went back to Pole Block Passage to grind some lives. Now I could have more tries at this. I got everything right with this wall jump, I dropped down, and timed my spin perfectly. But this was still not over yet. This jump here was still scary, but I made it where I could make my way over to the boss, where I almost messed up by shooting a bubble. If that hit anything, I had to literally do the whole stage all over again. But with the battleship done, we could now move on to a few different stages, but I went with Hot Hot Hot, which is a return to the classic stage design of just hold right and jump on occasion. Even the Wonder Flower isn't hard, you just have to avoid these pots, as if you accidentally destroy them, you get some coins, and swimming didn't really make it any harder. We collected the seed, and the path to the end was mostly just a straight line, which we could do by just holding right. This level actually has a secret exit. To find it, you just jump up here and follow this back to the block that turns into a door. and then the exit's just over here. Hot Hot Rocks scared me at first, as when I shot out the water, I got some coins. But when I tried again, I didn't get any coins. Don't know why this happened, but it made the level possible. This KO Arena was next, and there are actually coins on this one. They're not hard to avoid, but at least they're there. So let's move on to Wavy Ride through the Magma Tube. Just drop and spin at the start, and these coins that rain down looked hard to avoid. But I figured out that if you drill down on the platform second from the left, you can just stay here until the Wonder Flower appears. And speaking of the Wonder Seed, you see on my first try, I actually jumped around and expected the coins that rain down to be quite annoying. But you can just drill down on the left or right, and you can't be hit or collect any coins, meaning you can pretty much win by doing absolutely nothing. After the checkpoint, there's this jump, and the section here took me a few tries to do coinless. I mainly just moved down to the furthest left platform and ran right to get across these tough gaps. I did it again here, and at the end there was this scary jump, but other than that, it wasn't too bad, and I cleared it and moved on to this that in all honesty, I didn't feel like doing, meaning the next level was the palace. These rotating platforms were not really a problem, and so were the coin placements. This was the hardest part before the Wonder Flower, and it was just a simple jump. The Wonder Flower turns Mario into a slime, and I made the mistake of assuming this makes Mario immune to lava, and I did this. Yeah. The stickiness of the slime didn't really change much. These rotating platforms were easy, and to reach the seed, I could just run along this wall to reach the top, where the seed was waiting completely unguarded by any coins. But when I collected it, my life flashed before my eyes as I almost picked up this coin. This Bowser Jr. boss fight sure is a boss fight. Nothing too hard as there's no coins to collect. With our 5 real seeds collected, we can now move on to the next world. Here's what I would like to say I did, but I actually ran back to World 4 to attempt some stages I missed. Starting with Pipe Park. Here there are 2 medals that are noteworthy. For this first one, I just had to be careful, and this other one wants you to hit these blocks to spawn in platforms, but I just cheesed it by subbing in a second player. Moving on, Blimps of the Desert Sky, no coins at the start here. These coins near this purple guy were somewhat hard to avoid. I tried just going over, but the coins actually go really high. So I just had to time a jump and a spin. I could just run past these coins, and with the blimps raining down, there was some risk I would accidentally bump into a coin. Fortunately, with the drill, this was less of an issue, and I managed to pick up the Wonder Flower that I messed up on my first try, but it didn't really matter because it's one of these evil circles. So the seed seemed impossible to collect. As for the flagpole, there was really just one trail of coins in the way that with a spin I avoided and finished the stage, unlocking this level, where the blooms push coins around. It took me a few tries, but by bouncing around I secured the 5 tokens and the Wonder Seed. I now collected 10 flower coins in the overworld to cross this bridge, and I took my first steps into World 5 with Up Shroom, Down Shroom, a stage where I run right, then jump, run right, then jump, run right, then jump. This part's more interesting, I guess, but now it's done, and so is the stage. Haley's Toxic Pond is a stage where there are coins on the ceiling, on occasion, so we can still use the ceiling to make a few jumps easier. And when there are no coins on the ceiling, this stage is quite simple. What is noteworthy, however, is if you pull these guys, they drop a few coins. But if you just drill them, they don't. So I did that, to safely find the Wonder Flower. And this quiz is pretty easy, as long as you stay away from the center. After collecting the seed, the rest of the stage was easy, as long as I abused the ceiling. Next was this music level. You've seen these before, and yeah, they're pretty easy. Beware of the rifts. Is a stage where the coins aren't really the issue, and overall this one's simple until the Wonder Flower where they are extremely generous with coins. This part looked hard, but it all didn't matter because you can't get past this. Wobber Ruins, this one needed some planning. The slime wasn't really the problem, and this room was relatively easy. Here I hugged the ground, and after that I hugged the wall. With the checkpoint reached, there were these stairs that were not hard, but here is our first problem. This guy will always move all the way left, and then up, and hit these blocks with coins. You can see how this was a problem, but there was actually a solution. You see, if you drill down, they won't notice you, and you can abuse this to run as far right as possible, so that the coins will despawn or something like that, and you don't retrieve them. There was a problem with this, however. The Wonder Seed was in just one of these blocks, so I had to go back. Fortunately, since I was on the right, maneuvering this guy was fairly simple. I now took Slime Mario to the end, and there were some coins there, so I just did the stage the normal way. That doesn't actually work, so we have to take the other exit. but if I collected the Wonder Flower, coins would block the path, making it impossible to progress. So I needed to use the Drill Flower to drill into the ceiling, then I had to time a jump and then spin. And from here, I could wall jump. Then I jumped on the flagpole and moved on to the next stage. Grappling Vine, a stage that Mario wasn't doing, but with Yoshi's Flutter, I could jump up here. I could avoid the coins here with an unintended jump into the vine, then I jumped into the slime on the left. Near the end, there was this moving platform, so I had to perfectly time the vine to avoid the coins. On the final 3 jumps, I controlled a second player, and just jumped over any of my problems. Swaying Ruins. These first 2 jumps were quite easy, but here I made sure to drill into the ceiling to have an easy time. From here, it was smooth sailing, until I reached this part, where we need to go through this door to reach the Wonder Seed. I just had to time a jump by this door, and there were no problems, but I couldn't say that when I collected the flower, as I hit into this bouncy platform and spawned in some coins. They caught me off guard, but on my next try, I could avoid them, climb up, and make a few tricky jumps to collect the next 2 Wonder Seeds. The level that was up next was the Poison Ruins. I could run along the ceiling at the start here, but they kind of tease you here where you drop down, and it really confused me at first. I thought the Wonder Flower was down here, when in actuality, you can easily pass through this part by running along the ceiling here. And here, at first, I didn't find the Wonder Flower, but I quickly noticed where they wanted me to go. But it was blocked. Eventually, I just ground pounded the slime, got the flower, and had a scare. You couldn't get past here by riding the walls. I tried jumping off the wall, but that didn't work. I then tried a leap of faith and needed a little more height that I could actually get by jumping on this guy. Then I could move along the walls until here, where I needed to carefully time jumps to avoid the coins. This took a few tries, but with that done, this next jump was easy. These moving platforms caused me no issues, and only this part at the end could cause me to lose. They spin these coins around, and you have to clear a way towards the seed. If you take your time, you'll be fine. Then we just ran over to the goal, and we could easily collect the next royal seed. It's what I'd like to say, but you have to get 10 coins here. Why? Well, you can't get past without going through these small holes, and doing this causes you to collect 10 coins. I don't think there's a way around this, so unfortunately, we have to collect 10 coins. But hey, at least we can go towards Bowser and begin one of the final stages with Missile Meg Mayhem. Here you just have to ride the missiles, and with the super spin, the coins are fairly easy to avoid. The Wonder Flower didn't change this much, but I failed this jump more times than I would like to admit. As long as I stayed on the platform, second from the right, I was good until I dropped down. Now I ran right, no problems here, jumped on these, and reached the missiles all the way at the top. Then I avoided this and collected the seed, ending the stage and unlocking High Voltage Gauntlet, a dark level, so as you might expect, it was not easy. I really had to be careful and time my super spins. I was extra careful with this line of coins as I needed to execute a good jump. Down this hole was a checkpoint and another section where I had to be careful. I had to jump to avoid these guys, and I also had to avoid the electric as well as the coins. There wasn't much space to maneuver, but then I found a pipe that seemed to go to the end, but I wanted to find the Wonder Flower, and that was a mistake as it shortens your jump and makes coins attract into you. I'm pretty sure this Wonder Seed is impossible, so I just reached the pipe again and cleared the stage. Evade the Seeker Bullet Bills. Here we just hug the wall and ground pound to clear a path towards this pipe that on the other side we need to immediately spin to avoid these coins. On this platform I need a running start to get past one of these pipes with the orange flower on it, as they spawned in a ring of coins. That happened here, so I just jumped over, reached the checkpoint, then after some progression we jumped past a few pipes. Then I dropped down here and collected the Wonder Flower. We now ride this boat and shoot shots to clear a path forward. Despite them being quite generous with coins here, it isn't that hard since we can just keep our distance. After this drop, we need to jump 4 times to avoid these flowers and the flower coins. Then at the end, it was easy to collect the seed. Through this pipe was a small hallway as well as the flagpole. For the penultimate stage, Bowser's Blazing Beats, we had to jump at the start. Then my best bet here was to just take damage, as I couldn't safely trigger the fists without collecting the coins. I jumped at the end here to avoid the coins that this block drops. After this jump, it took a little bit of patience to make my way to the first checkpoint. As long as I avoided the orange flowers here, no coins would appear, and I could just swat away any bullets. By just running and eating some damage, the next checkpoint was mine. Here I collected the flower and got a little confused, because I thought that if I jumped to the rhythm, this platform would raise, when you actually just have to run right. But this stage was still quite hard, as with the rhythm, coins could show up out of nowhere, so it took me a few attempts just to figure out where they were. At this point where the bullet bills shoot up, I determined that the best strategy was to just jump over, then stop here by the coins, then run when they disappeared. This platform required me to jump, then wait for more platforms to appear. Coins flew out here, so I just jumped over to the bullet launcher to spawn in the next few platforms. I waited out these coins, and that was the scary part. It was really hard to keep track of where the coins were here, but with some luck, I was good. After climbing up with some pretty scary jumps in the rising lava section, I collected the seed and quickly found the flagpole. Now it was time for the final stage, Bowser's Rage stage. It starts with these big fists, and there's no coins here, so I had no trouble. There's some coins here though, but I didn't have trouble avoiding them with a spin jump. On the spiky ball section, they want you to run in here with the coins, but fortunately you don't have to, as if you jump just as the stage changes, you can sneak in here, and you're best off staying here, since you don't want to have to go up here. Now you can just stay on this dragon, and stay on the right side here. At the top, this Bowser statue explodes into coins, but we can easily jump over. This King Boo chase section is easy, but this anti-gravity section took some precise timing, to fly by the coins while avoiding the lava. And at the end, I just stayed on the far right of this pipe, and we were on to the Bowser boss battle. That is actually harder in this challenge, as when we attack him, he drops coins, and so do his hands. On their own, they weren't really hard to avoid, but when the boss has a phase change, or after your second and fourth instance of damage, Bowser is really close to the ground. So the simple strat of just staying below him doesn't work, so I had to jump to either the far left or far right to avoid the coins. The fight isn't too bad outside of that, and we eventually landed the final blow, beating the game, collecting 11 coins and 60 flower coins in the overworld, but 0 in the stages themselves. Personally, this was a pretty fun playthrough. It really added just enough difficulty on every level, making the game way harder than I expected, and I probably averaged about 20 minutes on every stage. But even so, I don't regret doing this for my first blind playthrough. If you enjoyed, be sure to show it with a like, and if you've got an idea on how to lower this coin count of 11 and 60, let me know in the comments. Anyway, bye.